Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashta Praesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhagavati Naishtiki. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 21, verse number 36. This is the chapter is entitled Instructions by Maharaj Prithu. I thought this would be appropriate for our theme of leadership, spiritual leadership. Aho mamami vitaranthyanugraham. Aho mamami vitaranthyanugraham. Haring gurum yagya ujam adishwaram. Haring gurum yagya ujam adishwaram. Swadharma yogena yajanti mamata. Swadharma yogena yajanti mamata. Nirantaram shonitale vriddha vrata. Nirantaram shonitale vriddha vrata. Aho.
Aho.
O all of you.
O all of you.
Mama.
Mama.
Unto me.
Unto me.
Ami.
Ami.
All of them.
All of them.
Vitaranti.
Vitaranti.
Distributing.
Distributing.
Anugraham.
Anugraham.
What means?
Special mercy.
Mercy. Harim.
Harim.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Gurum.
Gurum.
The Supreme Spiritual Master.
The Supreme Spiritual Master.
Yagyabhujam.
Yagyabhujam.
All the demigods.
All the demigods.
Eligible to accept yagya offerings.
Eligible to accept yagya offerings.
Adishwaram.
Adishwaram.
The Supreme Master.
The Supreme Master.
Swadharma.
Swadharma.
Occupational duties.
Occupational duties.
Yogena.
Yogena.
By dint of.
By dint of.
Yajanti.
Yajanti.
Worship.
Worship.
Mamata.
Mamata.
Having a relationship with me.
Having a relationship with me.
Nirantaram.
Nirantaram.
Incessantly.
Incessantly.
Shonitale.
Shonitale.
On the surface of the globe.
On the surface of the globe.
Dridhavrata.
Dridhavrata.
With firm determination.
With firm determination.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation: The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the master and enjoyer of the results of all sacrifices, and He is the Supreme Spiritual Master as well. All of you citizens on the surface of the globe who have a relationship with me and are worshipping Him by dint of your occupational duties, are bestowing your mercy upon me. Therefore, O my citizens, I thank you. Shall we recite this together? Why not? The Supreme Personality of Godhead,
the Supreme Personality of Godhead,
is the master and enjoyer,
is the master and enjoyer
of the results of all sacrifices.
Of the results of all sacrifices.
And He is the Supreme Spiritual Master as well.
And He is the Supreme Spiritual Master as well.
All of you citizens on the surface of the globe,
all of you citizens on the surface of the globe,
who have a relationship with me,
who have a relationship with me,
and are worshipping Him,
and are worshipping Him,
by dint of your occupational duties,
by dint of your occupational duties,
are bestowing your mercy upon me.
are bestowing your mercy upon me.
Therefore, O my citizens,
Therefore, O my citizens,
I thank you.
I thank you.
Purport. Maharaj Pritu's advice to his citizens is to take to devotional service. No. Maharaj Pritu's advice to his citizens to take to devotional service is now concluded in two ways. He has repeatedly advised persons who are neophytes to engage themselves in devotional service according to the capacities of the different orders of social and spiritual life. But here he specifically thanks those already engaged in such devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is actually the enjoyer of all sacrificial ceremonies, and who is also the Supreme Teacher as Antaryami or Param Atma. there is a specific mention of the word Gurum, which indicates the Supreme Personality as Chaitya Guru. The Supreme Godhead, in His Paramatma feature, is present in everyone's heart. And He is always trying to induce the individual soul to surrender unto Him and to engage in devotional service. Therefore, He is the original spiritual master. He manifests Himself as spiritual master both internally and externally to help the conditioned soul both ways. Therefore, He has been mentioned herein as Guru. It appears, however, that in the time of Maharaj Prithu, all the people on the surface of the globe were His subjects. Most of them, in fact, almost all of them, were engaged in devotional service. Therefore, He thanked them in a humble way for engaging in devotional service and thus bestowing their mercy upon Him. In other words, in a state where the citizens and the head of state are engaged in devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they help one another and are mutually benefited. So in Srila Prabhupada's purport to this verse. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumitam Yena Tatsmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishtam Shtavitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Gadati Swabhavantikam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivastava Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Panchadapatruyascha Kripa Sindhu Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. It is with some trepidation that I sit here, with all of you exalted Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis present, so I beg your blessings that I may say something that will be enlivening and illuminating. Prithu Maharaj, King of the earth, is giving instructions. He has been teaching his subjects. I sometimes wonder how he manages this without internet. Perhaps people's ability to listen was so much better than it is today. In any case, somehow he was able to communicate with his vast kingdom, his subjects. And as Srila Prabhupada says, this verse is coming to the conclusion of his instruction. And in this particular verse, he is expressing gratitude. Gratitude is the theme I want to focus on as we speak about leadership, specifically spiritual leadership. I would suggest that gratitude is foundational to our individual, personal progress in spiritual life. And it is also foundational collectively to our progress of, as the phrase we're using, pushing on this movement cooperatively. I was just fortunate a few days ago to participate in a smaller seminar called Spiritual Leadership seminar. And this is something that's been prepared over some years and has been presented by our Kshetra Prabhu and His Holiness Praladananda Swami very expertly and, very inspiringly. So I want to share with you, especially, I want to address all devotees, but especially those who are participating in this ISKCON Leadership Conference, a little bit of what I learned in this seminar. We learned that there are principles of leadership which are useful to keep in mind as we practice leadership. There are 12 of these which have been divided into 3 categories, and I'm not going to go through all of these, but the 3 categories, I think, are interesting. The first of these is vision. So Prithu Maharaj is giving vision to his followers, to the citizens of the world. He's especially emphasizing Varnashrama Dharma, but interestingly in this verse it says Swadharma Yogena, and more than one commentator explains that Swadharma in this context means bhakti, that by bhakti they are offering yajanti, worship. Vision is what we receive from ultimately the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the acharyas in the line of disciplic succession. For this vision, we are grateful. Some months ago, I had the good fortune to get some new glasses from an optician who is a devotee, and he took me to his office and put me through the eye examinations. And I've had this done so many times before in so many years as my eyesight gradually, dwindles as the body dwindles. But this optician spent a very long time examining my eyes. I don't know how long it was. It seemed like at least an hour, with lots of different machines and most importantly, very careful questioning. I reflected on this exercise after getting the glasses. These are the glasses. They're the best glasses I ever had. They're fantastic glasses. I can really see sharply. It's so nice. So in the examination process, he's putting on different, test lenses and asking, can you see clearly now? Is this better? Is this worse? So there is a back and forth exchange. Similarly, the spiritual master asks us, inquires how we are doing and what is it that we need so that we can get the necessary adjustments so that we can engage nicely in devotional service. Well, this gets a little bit ahead of what I want to say, so I'm going to back up before I get to that point of facilitation. First is vision, and then when we have vision, which may need some adjustment, we may need to sometimes ask ourselves, am I getting the vision sharply, is it in sharp focus? Circumstances change. Our experiences change. Our needs change over time. And as a result, the vision could get a little blurry. Or we might lose it altogether. And so we need to keep coming back to check, am I getting the vision? And when we have the vision, then we can experience the next principle, and that is inspiration. Inspiration has the acharyas of our spiritual leadership seminar have worked out 4 subcategories, one of which is being balanced and exemplary in one's lifestyle. The word balance, I was discussing with some devotees last night, makes me think of trapeze artists. Not trapeze, sorry. Tightrope, yes, tightrope. So when you walk, do we have any tightrope artists here? But you have seen tightrope artists. What do they do? How do they walk the tightrope? They have a long rod. And what does this rod do? It helps to balance, right? So what is the rod in our case, in this analogy? What is our rod for balancing on this tightrope of material existence? Sadhana, okay. Mahamantra, which is part of sadhana, right? Instructions, right? Sadhu Sangha, which is part of sadhana.
Good habits.
Sorry?
Good habits.
Good habits, yes. Guru, all of the above. Yes, all that you have said. This is the balancing rod. So we need to balance ourselves, to keep ourselves balanced as we progress, as we go along in our spiritual lives as leaders, so that we can imbibe others with inspiration. So that first of all we can be inspired, and so that we can give inspiration to others. Now, when someone has become inspired, they say, yes, I've got a vision. Yes, I have inspiration. Now what do I do? The third principle is facilitation. And as Anutama Prabhu pointed out, the word facilitation comes from, in French, the word facile. What means facile? Easy, yes. So to facilitate is to make it easy. Srila Prabhupada, how many times he said, this process is so easy. Simply chant Hare Krishna. What is the difficulty? And we want to say, Prabhupada, there is so much difficulty. If you only knew. But actually, from the position of clear vision, then there is no difficulty, because one understands how to facilitate the practice and the leading of Krishna consciousness. And part of the practice of facilitation is being reflective and being self-aware. Stepping back and thinking, reflecting for oneself. And this means being self-critical. Now, I don't know about you, but I am a card-carrying member of the fault-finding club. Actually, I'm an honorary member, I'm embarrassed to say. But I am trying to learn to overcome this habit. And one thing I find, one thing I find is that if I am self-critical, then there's no more steam left to be critical of others. Because there's plenty of work for me to do on myself. So this is part of facilitation. And you may wonder, well, how do these two relate? It's about humility, isn't it? Srinadi sunichena taroriva sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. We facilitate for ourselves the chanting of Hare Krishna purely so that we enable others to do the same. But there's another dimension to this self-critique, and that is what I would call collective self-critique. And I would suggest this is one of the things that we do when we come together, especially in this Sangha, the leadership Sangha. We look at ourselves, we give a hard look at ourselves, a critical look at ourselves, collectively. And we see, how are we doing? How can we improve? Where are we going? Are we following the vision? And if not, how do we correct ourselves so that we are indeed following the condition of the vision? Srila Prabhupada told us that the perfection of the vision is to see Krishna face to face. And we can see that Srila Prabhupada was seeing Krishna face to face. I was so fortunate to be present when Srila Prabhupada made his last visit to have the darshan of Shri Shri Radha Landanishvara in 1977. He was preparing to leave the world, and this was very clear. He was in Bhaktivedanta Manor, but he wanted to go to have darshan of Radha Landanishvara. And some of us found out that Prabhupada was going, so we jumped in cars and went in to see. And it was just so touching because Srila Prabhupada had all the time that he had stayed in the manor whenever we would see him, because his eyes had become very sensitive to light. He was keeping on dark glasses. But when he went to Soho Street Temple in London, he came in. Bury Place. Was it still Bury Place?
Bury Place.
Okay. In Bury Place. Thank you. When he came to Bury Place, he came in the temple and he took off his sunglasses to have direct darshan with Sri Sri Radha Landanishvara, his, as he said himself, isn't it, favorite deities. So we go from vision to inspiration to facilitation, and we go back to vision. And in this way we keep going around, and by this circulating process, then we put ourselves in position of being proper leaders. But the basis of being a leader is to be grateful. Srila Prabhupada expressed his gratitude again and again and again to his followers, and I'll just read a couple very brief excerpts from letters and end in this way. A letter to Nandarani, 1968. I am very much pleased with your preaching enthusiasm when you say, quote, if people won't come to us here, we will go to them, unquote. And this is the process of preaching, and this is required. I thank you very much for this spirit. Just like I have come to your country with the same spirit. So here, Srila Prabhupada is thanking his disciple for her spirit. He wrote to Gargamuni in 1969, your humble repentance is just like a Vaishnava student. So I thank you very much for this humbleness. Lord Chaitanya taught us to be humbler than the grass on the street and more tolerant than a tree. So these symptoms are Vaishnava symptoms. There is no question of rejection or dejection. I am always at your service, and you can question whenever there is any doubt, and I will try to answer them as far as possible. Here, Srila Prabhupada is appreciating the humility of his disciple, and he's offering him help. He says, whenever you need some guidance, whenever you have some doubt, I am there. So that's very nice. At the end of this verse that we read today, it says, Prithu Maharaj says, therefore, O my citizens, I thank you. Now, if you look carefully in the Sanskrit of this verse, nowhere does it say, therefore, O my citizens, I thank you. So I wondered about this. And I looked at some of the commentaries, and I didn't find anything in the commentaries. Often Srila Prabhupada would weave, so to speak, commentary into his translation. And then I realized this is a case where Srila Prabhupada is responding to inspiration from Krishna. And this is our conviction as we read Srila Prabhupada's books. As Kshetra Prabhu explained in one lecture, Srila Prabhupada was receiving his two sources for his writing Srimad Bhagavatam were the commentaries of previous acharyas and his inspiration that he received directly from Krishna. So with this, you might say, transcendental addition, we understand what is actually going on here. That Prithu is thanking his followers, his supporters. So that's something that I would suggest that we want to keep in mind as we go about our duties, acting as little tiny Ishwaras in service of the Supreme Adishvara. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Hare Krishna. Thank you for your attention. If there's any comment or correction or question.
Mr. Kshetra Prabhu, your last comment about Prabhupada's inspiration, how he weaves that into his translations, since your service has been, and perhaps, I don't know, but continues to be teaching in the academic world, is that explainable to scholars, or is that something only that devotees can really understand? Or maybe it's both.
Or both. Depends who you're speaking with.
Yeah.
There are many scholars who have a lot of appreciation, a lot of sympathy, and it's very easy for them to understand. There are others who, whatever you say, they won't understand in this life. the spirit of Srila Prabhupada in his translation has been appreciated, and that's been spoken of by many scholars, going back to A.L. Basham, I believe, and others. And some who will be, in a certain sense, critical they're not inimical. They just want to see that what they understand to be scholarship is somehow upheld. So, for example, one scholar I know in Germany was concerned about Srila Prabhupada's use of the word Vedic. Prabhupada uses it in a variety of ways. So he wrote an article in which he analyzed, he spent the time, he studied Srila Prabhupada's books, he analyzed that, he uses the word in 3 different ways. In a narrower sense, in a kind of medium sense, and a more broad sense. Okay, actually, that's useful. We can use that scholarship. We can have a say. Anyway, we can use it. It's appreciable.
So it's being done in their terms, in the secular scholarly world. Is there something where if someone knows Siddhanta, then they're allowed to do that? They know where Krishna's going with it, so they're allowed to be. I mean, even in their terms. Like Krishna says, Vaidashya Sarvadram, therefore Prabhupada. Knowing that in his Gita translations, he's saying things in verses as you're pointing out. It's not necessarily literally there. Is that okay by their standards?
Again, it depends who you speak to. It depends on what type of scholar. A textual scholar is likely to say, well, that's stretching things. An anthropologist who's studying our tradition will say, hey, that's part of the tradition. That's thoroughly Puranic. That's what you do with Purana. You recite it with your realization. So, what's the difficulty?
Thank you.
Kshetra Prabhu, the words Yagya Bhujam in the verse mean all the demigods eligible to accept Yagya offerings. That part disappears from the verse. That's not in the verse.
Yes. Touch of it, Prabhu has just pointed out, there's a word or a compound in the verse, Yagya Bhujam, which doesn't appear in Srila Prabhupada's translation. Sometimes that also happens. In this case, Yagya Bhujam, Bhuja means arms. So the arms of Yagya, which then, what are the arms? The arms are the demigods. So apparently Srila Prabhupada didn't feel that was essential to translate this verse.
Where would it fit in if you translate?
It would take me a minute or 5 to think about that. Yes. Any ideas? Yes.
Who came up with the idea that only the Shruti are the Vedas and the Smriti are not the Vedas? Isn't that basically a Western idea? It's not according to our tradition. Who came up with the idea that only the Shruti are the Vedas and Smriti are not the Vedas?
Smriti, Purana, it's not Veda. To my knowledge, that is not a Western idea. The idea of Orthodox Brahmins, which is one component of the wider tradition, is that Veda means the Vedic Samhita, Rig, Samaya, Yoga, Dharma, the Brahmanas, each of which are associated with one of those Samhitas, the Aranyata, each one associated, and Upanishad. However, our acharyas are very concerned to include Purana as Veda. And in fact, there's an interesting kind of reversal that happens. Scholars have even noticed this, that the Srimad Bhagavatam in what they call the pre-modern period became that which gives authority to other scriptures rather than the other way around. So the Srimad Bhagavatam over time became accepted as actually the central text. So Nigama Kalpataro Galitam Param Shukamaka Amritadraha Samyutam is very relevant. The Nigama, the Veda, the ripened fruit of the tree of the Veda, that is the Bhagavatam. And that came to be recognized. But the Orthodox Brahmins, the Smartas, they may not accept. Although they are Smarta, which means they follow Smriti. Very complicated. So, one last question? Yes.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for your wonderful class. You spoke about the importance of being self-critical. And could you speak a little bit about the art of introspection and how we can actually go within and understand how to be self-critical?
The art of introspection. That's a whole lecture, if not a seminar in itself. Yes, that's something. Huh? One sutra. One sutra. Don't assume that everything is all right. Assume rather the opposite, that there is danger lurking, and one must be attentive. That's my sutra. Thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada.
Kshetra Prabhu, okay!
Thank you.